What's up, everybody? Welcome into today's episode of Pushing the Pile. I'm Mike Renner. He's Kyle Long. We're going through the 25 under 25 list. Another great off-season staple from Cody Benjamin up on CBSSports.com right now. Go check it out. But it's the best 25 players in the NFL, according to Cody Benjamin, that are 25 years old or younger. So we're going to be going through that on today's show. Kyle, how you doing, though, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm actually pretty cooked physically. I had my first tennis match last night. I was just talking to producer Harry about it. It was doubles. My doubles partner is like an incredibly talented, successful tennis player. He's retired now. He coaches. But we played against two guys, and unbeknownst to me until after the match, these guys were the two best doubles players from that country club that we went to. And the whole time I was like, man, I suck at tennis. Or like, I just kept saying, these guys are really good. Like, this is a bad first, matchup. It's like the private school that goes and plays the big public school in the week 1 preseason game. It just gets absolutely boat raced. That was me last night, 6 a.m. lift this morning. But I knew I had to get my mind right for this 25 under 25 pod.
What was the final? Yeah. You're barely. What was the final tally here?
They won a set. They won the first set like 6-2, 6-3, and then we won the second set in straight games. And then I was like, hell yeah, we're gonna do this. And then they were like, we got to get out of here and go to dinner soon. So we just did a tiebreaker set, which is essentially like first to 7 points. Yes. And we lost like 7-5. So I was close. But man, oh man, this morning, my shoulder from serving, I showed up 30 minutes early to serve. Man, my shoulder just feels like there's gravel in it. And it's like I pitched 120 pitches.
I was going to say, it feels like you just went 8 innings.
Yeah. So like anytime I feel like I can still play football, I just need to go serve the ball 100 times and be like, yeah, that ain't it. I'm not able to do that anymore.
So after the honeymoon, I started running again because I gained like 10 pounds on it. I mean, just naturally. Like it was going off every single day. I think I drank like every single day for 2 weeks, ate whatever I wanted. It just like it goes quickly with my appetite. So put on a ton of weight and I'm like, okay, I got to run. Dude, I haven't run in a couple of years now. It does not come back quickly at this age. There was a time in my life where I was running like 5-minute miles. I was doing, fairly consistently running as an adult. It's going to be a while before we get back there. I feel it. Just ran yesterday afternoon and like my lower back, my hamstrings, all of it. I'm getting old, man.
Mix in some strength work as well, because now that you're married, your honey-do list will go up, which includes a lot of manual labor, carrying groceries and, doing all that kind of stuff. So get some lifting in, prepare yourself for the road ahead, Mike.
I have been. I've been doing solid core as well. That's been great for muscle building, but running, different animal altogether. I need to be doing, I just saw this clip earlier this morning, the Vasper system. Do you know what this is?
What is that? I've heard of it. I think Kate's talked about it.
I just saw George Kittle talking about it for recovery. And his main selling point was that you blow huge loads, which I'm not sure that's why I want it, but the recovery aspect of it. Go check it out. Go look.
What is Vasper?
It's like a cooling. I looked it up. It's a cooling full body workout that increases metabolism, increases testosterone, expedites recovery, builds lean muscle, improves sleep.
Invented by
They're
the
making
Liver
some
King.
Big claims. It looks like an old person thing, though. I mean, it looks like one of those things someone at the gym, like the old person does at the gym, where they're just like moving their hands back and forth. I don't know. But
let's be honest, George Kittle is the elder statesman now, so he is an old person. If he's doing that, I mean, you know what's funny? Let's predict it right now. Top 3 guys from the NFL that we think will be doing Copper Fit commercials in 10 years. There's going to be George Kittle, top of the list, big smile. The guy that gets the flag football game together is George Kittle. And then who else is going to be with him?
Well, Aaron Rodgers is going to be hawking some product. I mean, because Brett Favre did it, right? He's literally following Brett Favre's trajectory. And also he's into alternative medicine. So if there's a thing that's making a claim that, aligns your chakras, increases your internal energy, Aaron Rodgers is going to be all over that. So he's top of that list. I probably think of who else would be up there. I mean, Brock Purdy's been hawking.
Lane Johnson.
You think so?
I could see totally. I could totally see that. I just think he's there's a few guys that get a taste of being in the spotlight. Some guys can handle it. Some guys can't. Lane hasn't had to change one iota of who he is. And he's just like in the spotlight now. And he's the best. I'll never get tired of Lane Johnson, any kind of content.
Lane Johnson, the quote I saw the other day is he feels like he's playing better than he ever has at 35 years old, which, dude, more power to him. We're going to be talking about guys who are playing at their best at 25 or younger on today's show. Starting out with the guys who aged out, though. We'll start off with this list. Guys who are on last year's list who can't be on this year's list because, well, they're not 25 or younger anymore. Pretty obvious there. The list is Justin Jefferson. He was number 1. Micah Parsons. He was number 2. Justin Jefferson actually just turned 26. So he's very recently aged out of it. CeeDee Lamb at number 6. Jordan Love, number 11. Creed Humphrey, the Chiefs center, at number 12. Devontae Smith at 15. Antoine Winfield at 16. Tristan Wirfs at 21, and Christian Darrisaw, the Vikings OT, who unfortunately got hurt last year, at 23. Anything jump out at you off the bat when looking at this list?
Justin Jefferson dances like he's 14. He's got real bounce to him. It's surprising that he aged out of this list. I mean, look, we know the NFL has talent, and when we go through this list of the top 25 players under 25, you're going to be like, holy shit, we are in really good hands here in the NFL. And there's still a lot of guys who didn't make the list, and we'll get to that as well. But when I look at this list, I just think about a lot of young superstars and at different positions. Obviously, Tristan Wirfs is fantastic. And when I look at Tristan Wirfs, I think of, imagine you're a gym teacher and it's like middle school gym teacher. It's the first day of school and the new 8th grade class comes in, 7th grade class comes in, and there's this kid that's just like, that kid needs to play football. You look at him and you're like, he's built to play football. That's Tristan Wirfs. Every time I look at him, he's just like a big kid having fun out there. But this list is great. And a lot of these guys are going to get even better. I mean, Jordan Love, I feel like has a few more steps that he's got to take up the staircase. And he's already a really good player. But there's a lot of room to improve. Christian Darrisaw, I think, can get even better, which is scary. Creed Humphrey has been awesome since day one. The list is cool. It's impressive.
Two things jump out at me at this list. One is that it really shows why drafting young players is beneficial. Justin Jefferson being, the obvious example of this. He was 20 years old when he was drafted, 2020. He's been in the league for 5 years already and only now just turning 26. Like there are guys in this draft class. We talked about Tyler Shuck, the guy who just got drafted for the New Orleans Saints, quarterback, 2nd round. He's older than Justin Jefferson. We have guys coming in the league now who are
24, I was 24 when I came in the league, which is why, and you and I have had this conversation before, Mike, about repeating in high school or getting held back maybe in preschool so you can give yourself that advanced edge when it comes. Dude, stay as young as you can for as long as you can. I did 2 years of I switched from public school to private school in my sophomore year, and I repeated sophomore year. And it was great. I mean, football was really easy. I was a man my senior year. You know what I mean? But when I got to the NFL, I was really jealous of the guys that were in my draft class that were 21 years old because I was 24. And I knew that my second contract would be their third contract, and my third contract would be their fourth contract. So if you're into, if you like playing football and you're good at it and you want to make some dough doing it, I would recommend just get there as quick as you can. The best coaches are there. The best teammates you're going to have are there. The best physical trainers are going to be there. Don't stick around. Don't do the 8-year college thing, bro. Doesn't benefit anybody.
Tristan Wirfs, the other one, he was in the 2020 draft class as well. And him at 21, I think if we redid this, if he was still in this, I mean, he's the best left tackle or was the best left tackle in the NFL last year. Obviously, you never know how it's going to turn out this year, but he would be much, much higher than 21 if we were to redo this. Now, the question here that I want to ask is Justin Jefferson at number 1. Obviously, with the season Jamar Chase just had, who's number 1 this list. We haven't discussed we haven't gone through the under 25 list this year, but he is at number 1. Who would you put at number 1 this year if Justin Jefferson, Micah Parsons were both still eligible?
I'm not going to hold it against Jamar Chase that he's got, in my opinion, one of the best throwers of the football that has ever been in the National Football League. I won't do it. I'm going to put Jamar Chase at number 1. I love Justin Jefferson. I think he's fantastic. I think that this guy, Jamar Chase, has an edge to him. And in the biggest of moments, I've seen it firsthand. Okay. Like, I've seen it firsthand in Kansas City when Jamar Chase went for like $197 his rookie year in the playoffs in the AFC Championship, bro, at Arrowhead. There is no moment too big for Jamar Chase. And when T. Higgins is on the field, he's even more dangerous. But this is about the player. Jamar Chase is the guy I'm picking.
Yeah, to me, I'm right there with you. The biggest thing that I think separates Jamar right now versus every other receiver in the NFL in terms of like why he is, in my opinion, the unquestioned best receiver in the NFL. If I were drafting all wide receivers, who would I take first? It's easily Jamar Chase. It is just the explosive ability. And then not to say these other guys aren't explosive. It's that Jamar Chase can take a screen and go 75. You know, he could take a slant and go 80. Like there are plays that he had. I mean, it's like Tyreek and
Justin Jefferson could too, but he would do it without touching anybody. Jamar Chase might bounce off, make three guys miss. Like, he becomes a running. He becomes like Devon Achane with the ball in his hand. You know, after contact, he's just ridiculous.
It's just a different level. I mean, it's like why I said Tyreek from 2018 to about 2023 was the best receiver in the NFL. Not that like other guys put up bigger numbers, but just the threat that he brought was so great that it changed the way everyone else had to play. That's how I feel about Jamar Chase.
Barry Bonds. They didn't throw to Barry Bonds.
Yes.
Okay. And I mean, Barry Bonds was the best hitter that ever played in Major League Baseball and maybe ever will play in Major League Baseball. His batting average, his on-base percentage was ridiculous. Obviously, on-base percentage went up because he got intentionally walked. But he could hit a home run every time he went to the plate if you pitched to him. And that's how Jamar Chase is, to your point. I mean, he is like our Barry Bonds, little mini Bonds.
And it's crazy because every defense in the NFL right now, all they're doing is trying to take away these explosive plays. You know, like that is part and part. That is what the new wave of defense is. That's what they've been, you know, these too high. It's predicated on don't let anyone get over the top. And still somehow Jamar Chase is able to do it. So yes, that's why I'd still go with him at number one. But let's get to the full list. We'll take a quick break and get to the 25 under 25 right after this.
Here we go. The 2025 CBS Sports NFL schedule is here. 18 glorious Sundays.
He's got his receiver touchdown.
Filled with rematches.
Oh, the play of the year.
And rivalries.
Touchdown, Bengals.
Plus, plenty of superstar showdowns. And an epic matchup between the Chiefs and Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Clear your Sundays beginning September 7th for the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
So before we get to the 25 under 25, this actually jogged my memory because I was looking at this last night. And you bringing up Barry Bonds jogged my memory because obviously Barry Bonds, why he's not in the Hall of Fame, whatever, steroids. But I just saw a study about a new drug that is going to come into the marketplace soon called bimagrumab. And it doesn't help you build muscle. It's not a steroid, but it actively prevents muscle loss. Do we think that something that prevents muscle loss would be outlawed in competitive sports if this were to hit the marketplace? It's a sort of it's an ancillary product to.
You have to think about it this way: every product that has proven to be safe and functional, and physically protective, the NFL implements it. I mean, from any number of pre-workout things to the way that they support their players nutritionally and medically. If this thing isn't proven to have freakish side effects and it can keep people's muscle mass on, that's what happens at the end of the season. It's just a war of attrition. Guys start to wear out. They're at the beginning of the season, I would go in and get in the bod pod or whatever, and they would figure out how much lean muscle mass I have in my body. When I was a rookie, I would go right after Julius Peppers. We would both have, I had 280 pounds of lean muscle. At the end of the season, probably like 260, 200,
Damn.
Something ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like my strength and conditioning was changing. your body gets beat up, worn down in the NFL. I would love to see something like this get implemented. I'd also love to get a baseline test through the NFL to find out each player's testosterone levels. And we've talked about this before, but I'd like to have it so the NFL could bolster players who are experiencing low testosterone as a result of the workload that we take on as football players, because you depreciate so much as the season goes on. And this medical advancement you're talking about is right along the same lines I'm talking with. If the NFL wants the best product, if they really want to take care of their players, they'll do everything that they can in injury prevention. Keeping muscle on is number one.
That's where I'm at 35 years old. I'm just trying to maintain here. And a lot of players, like you said, towards the end of the season, just need to maintain it, because that's why I feel like a lot of guys wear down and injuries happen towards the end of the season because of that. So let's get to the 25 under 25. I'll read through the full list, and then we're going to go rehash our Goldilocks segment. Who's too high, who's too low, and who is just right. Start with Garrett Wilson at number 25. Last year, he was ranked 18th. Obviously, didn't have his best season. Drake London at 24. Quinyon Mitchell, rookie last year, at 23. The Eagles cornerback. Bijan Robinson, 22. Malik Neighbors checking in at 21. I think he's a little low, but we'll get to that later. Jared Verse at 20. Christian Gonzalez, 19. Will Anderson, 18. Trent McDuffie at 17, the Chiefs slot corner. Brock Bowers makes the list at 16. CJ Stroud, 15. Brock Purdy, 14. If you watched, obviously, the quarterback episode from Monday, you'll know I have some disagreements there. Puka Nacua at 13. Jalen Carter at 12, the Eagles defensive tackle. Kyle Hamilton, 11. Derek Stingley Jr., 10. Brian Thomas Jr., 9. The highest-ranked rookie from a year ago, I believe. Aiden Hutchinson, 8.
No, Jake Daniels.
7. Oh, no, excuse me. Second highest ranked rookie. We'll get to the highest. Jahmyr Gibbs, 6. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 5. Patrick Surtain at 4. Penei Sewell, 3. Jaden Daniels at 2. And Jamar Chase at number 1. Who's too high, Kyle?
Well, and when you say too high, you mean like who shouldn't be a single digit, who should be a double digit? You know, yes. I always get messed up on these too high, too low things. But too high, in my opinion, there's a couple guys with some injury history on this list. And I weigh heavily the injury history, especially with a recency bias. Aiden Hutchinson is a guy that is an incredible football player. He is dynamic, tough, the epitome, the archetype for what Dan Campbell and his football team wants to be about. Like if ChatGPT were to design a defensive end for Dan Campbell's football team, you get a picture of Aiden Hutchinson. I have real concerns about him being so high on this list with the unknown of this year. And having been a guy who's been through a number of lower extremity injuries, I know how long it takes to get back from this thing. These things. I feel like there should be like an unknown section in this top 25, because there's a few guys with some injury history, and I'll get to another guy here shortly. How long will it take for us to see that production again? Having been down these roads physically, it takes time not only to heal physically, but to be confident enough mentally to go put your leg in the ground. And after you've put your leg in the ground on a field by yourself for months and months and months, then you go and you enter into team drills where everybody on your team understands, okay, stay away from 97, his watch out for his leg. Then you go to the game, and these guys don't give a shit about your rehab. They don't care about anything. As a matter of fact, they're probably going to try to come after you and try it. I'm going to cheer very loudly for Aiden Hutchinson this year. I want him to do really well, but he's very, very high up this list. I think any major body injury should bar you from the list.
Yeah, I was going to say, to me, this feels like a hedging, because if you looked at last year and how he performed, he's objectively higher. He's objectively higher than 8, right? Like
he's a top 5 guy.
Yeah, he's top 5.
He's got a sleeve from his butt cheek to his ankle right now that's a compression sleeve that's trying to, control clotting in his leg. Like, there's a lot going on there.
He was the best player on the Lions when he was on the field last year. And there were 2 Lions ranked ahead of him on this list. And 3 Lions, Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Penei Sewell, 4 Lions in the top 10. Obviously, shout outs to why am I blanking on his name? Lions GM. Brad Holmes. Shout out to Brad Holmes.
I was like, Kirby Joseph?
Dude, who could have made this list, which we'll get to later. But it feels like a hedging because objectively on the field last year, he was better than this. But I think if you're honest with yourself and you're saying what he had, the injury he had when you shred your leg in half at the ankle, like that is just not one that you expect. The timetable is 18 to 24 months of full recovery, not just the 7 to 8 months that they say is like you're back and able to play, which is what that recovery asks. But able to play is different than being what he was last year. So I do think that 8's probably a little high, but it feels like I said to me, hedging of where he realistically will be this upcoming
season. If we have the
because
film of all these players with no knowledge of injury, like if we didn't know that he got injured, he would be in the top 4.
Yes.
He'd be right behind Panay.
So my guy who's too high, and I don't have to rehash it too much because you did on Monday show, it's Brock Purdy. And I hate these lists. I'm just going to get to one of my pet peeves that I think I discussed all last season. These lists that give quarterback deference. You're giving quarterback deference here to put him at 14. Because, again, if you're ranking all the quarterbacks in the NFL, so it's one of those positions where there's only one per team, right? There's not a lot of positions that are like that. It's quarterback, it's kicker, center, punter. It's kicker, it's punter, right? Like there's not a lot where you just get one guy per team.
And Mike linebacker.
Yeah. So like slot cornerback, there's one per team. He is not a top by anyone's stretch of the imagination, a top 8 quarterback in the NFL, right? He's not a top 8 guy. Tyler Linderbaum, the Ravens center, who didn't make this list, not in the top 25. Everyone and their mother would say he's a top 5 center in the NFL. He's top 5 center in the NFL. So what are we doing giving quarterbacks deference in a sort of list that has no deference quarterbacks? This isn't the MVP list. This is just ranking top 525. So I hate when lists do that. Again, that's my pet peeve. But also just like objectively, Purdy is even by the most gracious sort of homer opinion of Brock Purdy, quarterback 9 in the NFL. That's the best you could put. So many of these guys that are behind him, not even, Brock Bowers is tight end 1, 2, or 3 in the NFL by worst. Trent McDuffie is a top 3 slot cornerback in the NFL at worst. Bijan Robinson's a top 5 to 6 running back in the NFL. There are guys on this list behind him who are much, much better at their respective positions. So for all that being said, Brock Purdy is just too high.
Now, that being said about quarterback deference in these lists, what position do you think gets a lack of respect when it comes to these lists?
Tier offensive line.
Come on. Okay, so
you knew that. You knew that was going to be the answer, but you just wanted to hear it. You just wanted to hear
the other guy I wrote, and you know what? I don't ever want to say that guys are ranked too highly because of performance, because I would have hated to have been on a list like this. So for the players ranked too high, I just wanted to talk about injury history a little bit with these guys. Mm-hmm. So Aiden, obviously I talked about, and then Stingley. Stingley is wildly productive. He is a fantastic player when he's on the field. And you scouted him in college. He dealt with this kind of stuff at LSU as well.
Yep.
And I've played with a number of guys who, my God, when they're on the field, they're just lights out. Like there's no notes, but a hamstring pops up or an ankle. Next thing you know, you're not getting these guys on the field, and then the next thing you know, you're having the Jair Alexander conversation. Are you our guy, or are you a guy that can be around every once in a while? And I hope for Stingley and for that Texans defense that he's around. They're going to need him this year throughout the entire thing. That's what I got.
Yeah, Stingley hurt both his rookie and sophomore campaigns there with the Texans. Obviously, fully healthy last year. Stupendous year. He is, for my money, all 3 of the corners on this list, Patrick Surtain, Derek Stingley Jr., and Sauce Gardner, those are your top 3 corners in the NFL. The top 3 corners in the NFL are all 25 or younger. And obviously 2 of them came from the same draft. But I am right there with you that even dating back to LSU, you do have the worry of the soft tissue injuries with Derek Stingley. My guy is ranked too high. It's it's another Lion. I hate to be.
This hurts my heart.
I know you love hating on the Lions, but Amon-Ra St. Brown is very good. I think, given what we saw last season, there's not many evaluators, if any, who, if you gave them the choice of Brian Thomas Jr. or Amon-Ra St. Brown, they'd say, yeah, give me Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown obviously ranked 5th. Brian Thomas Jr. ranked 9th. Amon-Ra St. Brown, incredible for Ben Johnson's offense. He is tough as nails over the middle of the field. He doesn't drop footballs. He's savvy as can be, but he's still a volume zone beating slot receiver. Those guys, as we've seen again and again, guys like Michael Thomas, guys in that mold, Cooper Kupp, they're great in certain roles, can be awesome in certain schemes. When they don't have that certain scheme, it ain't the same. Whereas Brian Thomas Jr., I don't care what scheme you're putting him in, he's going to produce. Guys like Jamar Chase, doesn't matter what scheme you put him in, he's going to produce. Malik Neighbors,
yeah.
He's going to produce. Like they have that to their game. Not saying Amon-Ra St. Brown doesn't. He's obviously an incredible wide receiver. But if
we are a huge Amon-Ra St. Brown supportive podcast.
But he's closer to number 10 in the NFL amongst wide receivers than he is number 5. He just is. And there's a lot of guys on this list who are higher.
You know who was tough like that at receiver was Golden Tate. It's just like, give him the rock. He's going to compete. He's just going to compete, dude. Like, that's why I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. I hate the too high thing as we covered, but
I agree. Let's get to too low then. Let's give guys some credit who didn't get enough credit here.
Great. I'll go first. And, I was just listening to a Teron Armstead interview and, obviously had a great career and shut it down recently. He looks great. Congratulations to Teron. What an absolute stud. I remember running the 40 with him and Lane Johnson at the 2013 Combine, and it was like a show of military force. It was like, tanks aren't supposed to move that fast. Well, I heard him talking about this young cat out of the Los Angeles Rams defensive line room by the name of Jared Verse, and it confirmed what I saw on film from Jared Verse. The guy has otherworldly pop, explosion. If he were a baseball player, like he doesn't even have to take a swing and the ball just goes 450 feet. Jared Verse is the kind of guy that keeps you up at night as an edge protector because of the threat of power on any given play. What I wrote here was, I remember when Pernell McPhee was on the edge for the Bears defense. He wasn't a household name, but he ruined our practices. It was a fist fight in a phone booth every week with him. Different players, obviously. Versus name recognition hasn't caught up with his down in, down out physicality and skill. I think that he takes another step this coming year, and I think he'll be potentially single digits next year.
Dude, I have not seen many players, and this is crazy to say about a rookie, who play with just the overt sort of physicality that Verse does. I'm like a little worried about his longevity, given just every single snap.
Khalil Mack, same way though, and he's like 40 out there just sunning people.
Is willing to just crown of the helmet into your sternum, and just doesn't not going to back down. It truly is. That's what you want a tone setter of your defense to look like, is a guy like Jared Verse. So even regardless of like the production, just who do you want to start a team with? If you're actually drafting him above even his production because of the way he impacts the game for other guys and the way he plays and what that does to the rest of your team. So yeah, Jared Verse, I'm in agreement with you. I'm putting him higher up on this list as well. A guy who I'm putting much higher up on this list that I think is just criminally, and I've been pounding this table for forever, just because, one, statistically, two, just watch the tape. It's Brock Bowers, 16. This guy is the best receiving tight end in the NFL. Full stop. He had the third most receptions by tight end in a single season as a rookie, 112 receptions. That's third most all time at the tight end position as a rookie, at a position where historically it's been very difficult to produce early on. It is not a position that translates well to the NFL. Obviously, we've seen guys in recent years, Sam Laporta comes to mind, Kyle Pitts comes to mind, that actually could But historically, it's been difficult to transition, and he obviously did not have any of those issues. Even going to a team that had Michael Mayer, who was an established tight end, didn't even matter. And obviously, Michael Mayer, his off-field stuff, we don't have to get into. But Brock Bowers is tight end one in the NFL. To rank him behind, at 16, behind guys who are objectively not even top 5 at their respective positions. Let's just call it what it is. It's criminal. Brock Bowers, top 10 on this list at worst, probably closer to number 5 than number 10. I think he's top 5 guy because, again, if you're drafting all the times in the NFL right now, he's number 1. You're taking him first. You just are. He's so dynamic with the ball in his hands. He gets open at will. If he's matched up on a linebacker or safety and it's man coverage, he's open. He just is. That's a unique trait to have at that position, and he is going to be incredibly valuable for Geno Smith, Chip Kelly, this offense. I'm so excited to see what he does this year.
You know how when you're in a good mood, you want to sing a little bit? You're ever in the kitchen, it's a good day, you're just singing, When I watch Brock Bowers play football, it reminds me of a song by Andre 3000 and Big Boy, the group known as Outkast. It's called Prototype. All right.
I was wondering where you're going with that. I've never heard that song.
And the opening line is, I hope that you're the one. If not, you are the prototype. That's Brock Bowers, okay? That is the NFL prototype for the new generation of offense. A do-it-all. I mean, a threat sideline to sideline, can go and take the top off of a defense, can do any number of the Andy Reid, Travis Kelce behind the line of scrimmage gadgets. We watched him at Georgia, and we were like, there's no way. I mean, obviously, guys like you were like, he's going to be dominant. But I was like, there's no way he's going to dominate the NFL game like he does the SEC. There's just no way.
Look at him.
And he's unreal. It got even better in the NFL. I'm wholeheartedly in agreement with you. And I think with Chip Kelly coming to town, Geno Smith being the guy with the pistol in his hand, we are going to see perhaps an even better season for Brock Bowers this year, which is ludicrous to even think about. For me,
I'm excited for the Raiders. I think it's the first time. I think it's the first time I've said that since maybe 2017. But I'm very excited to see them. They finally started making some good decisions. They finally started, drafting some good players. They have a lot of guys coming back. Geno Smith is, whatever you think about him, he attacks with the football. But like, you are going to see a vastly different offense than we saw last year. So, yeah, Raiders for the first time in, almost a decade. I'm excited to see what they're doing this year.
The other guy that I think is too low on this list is Trent McDuffie. And I talked about Jared Verse's name not matching his production. Obviously I played in Kansas City, so I follow a lot of Kansas City media stuff and players and fans, and they all know Trent McDuffie. But it's like Kansas City fans and people like you that know Trent McDuffie. I understand that he's a guy that can do everything. I'm just now recently learning about the secondary, believe it or not. The NFL, in my opinion, is a 9-on-7 league, but I'm learning about the other positions. Trent McDuffie can do everything. You go and look at the grades that this guy has put out. You look at the positional versatility inside and outside. He can be your slot corner. He can be your guy. He can match number one. He can travel. And in Spags defense, that's so important. Huge talent. Trent McDuffie, perhaps too low on the list.
It's funny. I was actually just looking at his Wikipedia here, and this Wikipedia name drops me. I got name dropped on this Wikipedia for my pre-draft eval.
What was your eval?
Calling the third best corner and 11th best prospect in that class. Third best corner, obviously no slouch because Derek Stingley and Sauce Gardner were 1 and 2. But 11th best player in that class, and dude, he has been. I'm right there with you. He's a 2-time All-Pro, first team All-Pro 2023, second team last year, and I don't think people see slot corner and they kind of treat it with kid gloves. They're like, that's not real corner, right?
Yeah.
Today's NFL, slot corner is actually the position you want.
Your most dynamic player lines up offensively in a spot to be anywhere. And if you put me at the sideline, you know how to defend that with some help. If you put me in the middle, buddy, everybody's eyes are up. And when you got a guy like Trent in the slot, that's great.
Because the slots also, not only is it obviously very valuable when you have to guard guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown in the slot, guys like Cooper Kupp, guys who, and also, when number one receivers kick inside, which is more and more common, but you have become the weak side linebacker in most defenses nowadays. No one is bringing out three linebackers anymore. So when teams are running on early downs, when you're matching with nickel, Trent McDuffie's the guy who has to stick his nose into and take on a crack block, right? He's the guy who has to go fill and play force defender off the edge. It is a position that if you have a great one, like a Trent McDuffie, it transforms your defense, like some other guys that we're going to talk about a little bit later on as well. So, yeah, I do think Trent McDuffie, another guy who, talking to all the slot corners in the NFL, he's top 3 at worst, right? He is somewhere in the top 3. And when that's the case, he should be higher than some other bigger names who play bigger positions, but really at their respective positions probably aren't as productive. Whoa, you did not just say Brock. All right, let's get to my second guy, too low. And this is a twofer because for my money, and I think everyone's money at this point, these are the best players at their respective positions in the NFL. Patrick Surtain, who not only people thought was the best player at his position, they called him the best player on defense entirely last year. He won Defense Player of the Year. He's ranked 4th on this list. Defense Player of the Year ranked 4th. Behind guys like Penei Sewell, who not the best right tackle in the NFL. He's a great right tackle. He's not better than Lane Johnson. And Jane Daniels, who, amazing quarterback. He's not the best quarterback in the NFL. Was not last year. Patrick Surtain was the best at his position. Was the best at all defensive positions. Maybe not necessarily that, but he was the best cornerback. Kyle Hamilton at number 11 was the best safety as well. You would be hard-pressed to find anyone who would debate that statement. Kyle Hamilton, his versatility, what he could do on the back end, what he could do in the slot, his range, his size. He is the best safety in the NFL. And he's ranked 11th. Those two guys need to be ranked higher. Where you want to put them, I don't care. They're higher than that. They're the best players of their position. They're the best players of their position.
You said it as well as I could have said it. And I mean, yeah, this goes to show that there are positions that are not appreciated as much as others.
It's a crime. We're gonna bang the table on that all year long. You guys are gonna get sick of me saying it.
Defensive player of the year.
Making these lists,
number 4.
Making these lists, it makes no sense to give positional deference. All right, let's get to the players ranked just right. Yep. Who on this list did you think was perfectly put, even if others may disagree?
Okay, so you and I shared one, so I'm going to go with the one we didn't share, and I'm going to say Puka Nacua. And part of me wants to say, what does the longevity look like for a guy who's beating and banging every week in the McVay offense? But then I'm like, he just continues to do it. And yeah, he's only 24, which is crazy. I have in parentheses next to Pua. I think he's aging in dog years. So don't be fooled by the 24 number. He's probably feeling like a 32-year-old because of what they ask him to do in that offense. But you can't argue with production. You can't argue with his toughness, his hands. The guy is and when Cooper was out, they had to rely so much on Puka Nacua, and he stepped up and he filled that role, continued to fill that role. Puka, player ranked just right.
See, I would probably have him a touch lower just because the arguments I've made.
How far down would you go?
I would Brock would come up above him. Trent McDuffie would come up above him. I think if I would flip Brock,
I would flip Brock, Purdy, and Puka, and then I would put Brock Purdy at 23, 24, and I would bring Brock Bowers up into single digits.
Yes. Those guys go up. And I'm also, if I'm comparing the two, who would I really rather have this upcoming season? I'd rather have Malik Neighbors than Puka.
Yes.
So I would bring a few guys up. This is not to hate on Puka Nacua. He led the NFL last season in yards per route run. He was, on a per snap basis, the most effective wide receiver in the NFL. Now, some of that is Matt Stafford and his propensity to go to his guys. That has obviously been the case even dating back to his Detroit Lions years. No secret that two of the best receiving seasons of all time came at the hand of Matt Stafford and Calvin Johnson and Cooper Kupp. But Puka, it's really hard to argue at this point. His body control, his toughness, his savvy, and I think he gets underrated as an athlete just because people saw his combine numbers. We watch him on the football field. None of that shows up right now. He is not in any way, shape, or form a poor athlete when you look at him on the football field. So the one we had in common is Jalen Carter, the Philadelphia Eagles defensive tackle. I think the knee-jerk Super Bowl winning reaction is this guy should be a lot higher. But when you just evaluate his tape on a down in, down out basis, it's not there. I think everyone agrees the talent is there to be top 5 in this list, top 10 easily on this list. The production currently is just not there. He was 9th in pressures among defensive tackles last year. He is very hot and cold in the running game. If you give me, short list of defensive tackles who one-on-one could beat, gosh, I'm trying to think of who's the best guard in the NFL right now.
Joe Thuney.
Would you say Joe Thuney? Guys, one-on-one could beat Joe Thuney. Jalen Carter's in the top 3 of guys who
styles make fights, though.
Yes, true. But if guys who just one-on-one could win a rep against the best in the NFL, Jalen Carter's in the top 3.
Yes.
Evaluate his tape over the course of the season. Jalen Carter's not in the top 3.
It's not the same.
He's just not. So that's how
it's funny you said that.
Good.
I wrote, and I love this obviously because I shared the same pick with you. Jalen Carter, first thing I wrote, the Predator. The guy you don't want to play, not necessarily down in, down out, which is verbatim what you said, but when he decides to show up for a rep, you're flat out in trouble. So essentially what you just said was what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, one-on-ones in training camp, that is the last guy that I want to go against. But play 62, I think we got a shot. You know what I'm saying? So that's the difference between being higher and being just right for Jalen Carter.
All right, let's get to honorable mentions, guys who didn't make this list, who we could see making this list in the future, right after this.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
All right, a list of guys who didn't make the list but would be honorable mentions. You got Joe Alt, off stack for the Chargers, Cooper DeJean, Xavier Worthy, Jordan Addison, Brian Branch, Edgerrin Cooper, Ladd McConkey, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Kirby Joseph, George Karlaftis, Sam Laporta, Tyler Smith, Trayvon Walker, Jamison Williams, Devon Witherspoon, Nick Bolton. Who put Nick Bolton on this list? Braden Fisk, Tyler Linderbaum, Jack Campbell, Bo Nix. Anyone you would make a case for, I already made a case for Tyler Linderbaum, but anyone else you'd make a case for to make this top 25 that didn't make it?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm just reviewing this list here. And the first one that I see is Tyler Smith. I love Tyler Smith. Dominant badass in the run game, more than effective pass blocker. And it also makes me understand and think about, we call the Dallas Cowboys America's team. But it's really America's punching bag. We just love to make fun of the Cowboys. It's not like they're on ESPN every day pumping up the Cowboys, or, me and Pete Prisco and Mike Renner. We're not just in there talking good about the Cowboys all the time. And it rains on the parade of guys like Tyler Smith, who are great football players, who have a lot of fantastic football ahead. The other guy, Cooper DeJean, come on now. Love some Cooper DeJean. George Karlaftis, great player. I don't know if he led the Chiefs in sacks, but I don't know if the production's there to be on this list. And Kirby Joseph, we'll make an argument for Kirby Joseph for sure. And then Jordan Addison's good, but I think Joe Alt is a guy that you want on this list.
Yeah, if we're saying this is the top 25 and 25 for this upcoming season, who is, I would bet good money Joe Alt's like a top 3 right tackle in the NFL this upcoming season. I would be very surprised if he's not, given what we saw as a rookie, given how rare it was to be as good as he was as a rookie, just given his track record. Yeah, I'm right there with you. The one that jumped out to me is just like stupid they didn't make this list, which is crazy because of the Lions glazing that already happened in the top 10. We had, so many guys in the top 10. Brian Branch.
Yeah.
The safety. You could argue he was, once Aiden Hutchinson went out, their best player last year. Now, obviously, he's got kicked out of games. He has some hits, and he's probably 1 or 2 more of those away from a big-time suspension in the NFL, given his track record. But when he's on the football field, guy doesn't miss tackles, Guy doesn't miss assignments. He is unbelievable football player. Brian Branch, to me, not just should have made top 25. He should have been like top 15.
How about Aleem McNeil?
Aleem, unfortunately, would have been had he not torn his ACL. Another guy that you would think.
We're putting a bunch of IR guys on the list. You may as well throw in a guy like Aleem McNeil. Who's
the Lions, though, again, shout out to Brad Holmes. The amount of guys we're debating, like Kirby Joseph, like Brian Branch, like Jack Campbell, like Jameson Williams, their draft track record is in the rarefied air. Historically, he's been on one of the best heaters of all time. All right, let's get to this. No linebackers in the top 25. Why do we think that is, one? And two, is there any guy that you see joining that list next season?
God, I'd have to go take a look at the names for under 25. You know, that's not a Rolodex that I have ready in my head, but I'm thinking about the positional favoritism on these lists. And it is interesting there's no linebackers. I would imagine it's hard to evaluate linebacker because there's so many responsibilities. So, like, unless you're a guy that's just making 200 tackles a year, that's easy to see. You know, like, okay, that guy's great at linebacker. Or a guy like Fred Warner, who is great at everything. It's like it stands out on film to you. But there are guys who are in this league that play linebacker that, you know, for the casual, I'm saying the casual fan at home, they don't know their names, that are damn good at linebacker. I wonder what Pete has against the position. Or who is this? Cody Benjamin?
Yes. I think it is actually. I don't think it's unfair to not include linebacker. I think there's a few things at play. I thought if Jacoby didn't hurt his knee, you could have considered him for this list. For what he did in his first year as a starter, projecting out to the second year, I think you could say he could have been a top 25 player. But I do think there is, I'll say two big things. One is that it's very difficult to play linebacker in today's NFL.
I think we lost Mike. He was just talking about how it's very difficult to play linebacker in today's NFL. Until he gets back, I'm going to try to pick the ball up and dribble it here. I can't imagine playing linebacker because there's so much to look at. Let's take, for example, playing defense against a team like the Baltimore Ravens. Number one, you're never going to be right. Sorry, Mike, I'm finishing a point on what you were talking about. I'm talking about, imagine playing linebacker playing against the Baltimore Ravens.
Yes.
With everything that's in your field of vision, the responsibilities that you have, not only is Derrick Henry a home run hitter, but Lamar Jackson is also a 6,000-yard rusher. There is more to look at than you can even imagine. Oh, you get your nose a little bit too into that mesh point. There's Zay Flowers right behind you, buddy. Now he's going to go for 45, and your ass is getting chewed out on the sideline. Pick it up from where I left off, Mike.
That's exactly what I was getting at, is that even the best will get completely clowned sometimes by virtue of how difficult it is, how much eye candy you have to deal with. And I think that's why for guys 25 and under, it's a tough position to transition to the NFL. You just need to see a bunch of football, a bunch of these plays, a bunch of these options, a bunch of, pre-snap motion to feel comfortable playing fast. So that's why I think very few separate themselves at all. And then it's even harder for young guys to really master the position. So the learning curve, or sort of the performance curve, is trending closer to more cerebral positions like quarterback, where it's like, man, this might take a guy 3 or 4 years to actually get to being good at it, unlike running back or wide receiver, where it's just like, yeah, I got my assignment. If I'm athletic enough, if I'm talented enough, it works right away. So I think that's the case. The one guy I would say, Edgerrin Cooper, Green Bay Packers, what I saw from him as a rookie, what he is as an athlete, I think there's a chance he enters that conversation this upcoming season, but obviously that's based off of half a season where he wasn't necessarily a full-time player towards the end, but Edgerrin Cooper looks like he's got the goods.
I did this with Ryan Wilson the other day. We were talking about breakout players, and I put Edgerrin Cooper as a breakout player because he only played half the season. If you were to double all of his stats from last year,
oh yeah,
you would have the best season like ever for a linebacker. He would have had 7 sacks, 2 interceptions, 170 tackles. You know what I mean? Like forced fumbles. He was everywhere. He was like your Madden My Player that you control, just making all the plays with. I love the Edgerrin Cooper shout out.
All right. No rookies on this list. But if you were to include rookies, do you think there's anyone that would make the top 25?
The way you've talked about T-Mac makes that the guy that I'm going to put on the list.
Okay.
I know how important it is to be physically gifted in football, and he is physically gifted. I mean, there's some things you can't teach. Like at the linebacker position, you need to see 1,000,000 reps to become Luke Kuechly mentally. As a receiver, go be a freak, man. Go be a freak. Go be bigger than them. We're going to get you the ball. I like T-Mac, and I think he's somebody they're going to lean on heavily in that offense.
Yeah, he's also in a great spot to produce. I would throw Ashton Genty on there. I've raved about what he is as a prospect. I think there's a good chance he's top 5 running back in the NFL from day one. I also think Abdul Carter has a chance. Obviously, rushing the passer, always difficult in the NFL to transition right out the gate, especially
not
when
for him.
Green as him. Yeah, well, not when you're that freaky, right? When you're Micah Parsons, when you're Abdul Carter, when you got the goods, it happens. But he's only played a year of edge in his career, right? He was off-ball linebacker first 2 years at Penn State. So relatively raw compared to a guy coming out as a 5th year like Jared Verse was. But I think Abdul Carter is a real shot that he is that early on. All right, guys who necessarily weren't on this list or didn't deserve to be on this list given their play last year, but you see making a big leap into getting on this list. Who do you think?
Center, Las Vegas Raiders, Jackson Powers Johnson. I'm not sure how old he's going to be next year, but my luck, he was
a junior coming out. He was young coming out, so he's
probably going to be 26 next year with my luck. Look, the keystone for every great running game is a center who understands leverage, who has wide shoulders, and who's got a little nasty to him, and has the ability to communicate well with his guards and his whole offensive line room. I like the way Jackson Powers Johnson plays. I think there's certain guys that are built physically to play the game of football. Like I look at Creed Humphrey, he's just a square. He's built like a Lego man. That's how JPJ is. And I obviously watched him in college as well. And I think with Ashton Genty, with their balanced formations this year, being in 12 a lot, you're going to see a lot of opportunities for JPJ to puff his chest out a bit in the running game. I think it's going to be one of the Raiders' favorite players next year.
So to me, we've probably discussed this before. Most positions, frame is not the end all be all. Like you can be good. Dominic Puny comes to mind. And to your offensive line, you can be good with a shitty frame. You don't have to necessarily look the part. But when a guy truly does look the part, like when he is built, and you look at Jackson Powers Johnson, you're just like, good Lord, that's an interior offensive lineman. He came out the womb ready to be
like Richie Incognito.
Yes, Richie. Oh my God, that's the exact comp. I think that was my comp for him in the draft guide last year when I was coming out. Was just that is a build that when you're the same width at your shoulders,
built like a Jack Daniels barrel.
Just it is tough to get by that guy in tight quarters. So when you really truly have the perfect build, and you know the way he carries it, it's not fat, it's just thick wrap muscle on that frame. When you have that build, those are the guys that you're like, yeah, I'll buy into that. I feel good that that's going to work out at the NFL level.
And maybe a Lee McNeil, but we already talked about that.
All right. Last one here. Are there any late bloomers? So guys who are year 4, year 5, who really haven't shown, like you would never argue right now. Like I said Joe Alt as a guy who's going to make the jump. Joe Alt, obviously, year 1 to year 2, everyone expects that. But guys who maybe are later on, who you think just another bump in their performance, and we're putting them on this list.
Well, I loved the pick that you're going to go with here shortly, but I went with a guy who's going to be in his 2nd year. I know you're saying 3rd, 4th, 5th year guys, but I think Rome Odunze is going to absolutely explode this year for the Chicago Bears. And I was so tired of Sunday night and Monday morning after watching the Bears games. I would go and watch all the routes that Rome won, and the ball wasn't in his hands. And I know that happens a lot in the NFL, and there's a lot of mouths to be fed. But they watch the film too, and they know that he's open, and Caleb knows that he's open. And I think that he's going to explode onto the scene from a statistics standpoint this year.
Yeah, he realistically, I mean, from like a play perspective, yeah, I people thought he was. I mean, the Bears. There was a portion of Bears fans. I'm not going to lump them all together. There's a portion of Bears fans that were upset with the pick, and to me, you're out of your mind if you're upset with that pick. Obviously, it didn't work out last year, but I don't care who you would have drafted. Shit was not working out last year. He is exactly as advertised. NFL ready route runner, gets open at will. Maybe not the dynamism of a Malik Neighbors, maybe not the dynamism of a Brian Thomas Jr., but reliable as can be.
And smooth. If you make it look that easy, if you can make anything look that easy, you're pretty damn good at it.
By the end of the season, I think he was the best wide receiver on the Bears. And I fully expect him to be the best wide receiver on the Bears this year. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I also picked a Bear. And I picked Darnell Wright.
Woo!
Right tackle. Just the progression from, I mean, because physically the guy is a bear. He has all you want to be that power right tackle in the Ben Johnson scheme. I mean, to be Penei Sewell, right? To be that guy who just caves in the right side on duo, snap after snap. He can be that. And the progression from junior year at Tennessee to senior year, massive leap. Senior year to rookie year in the NFL, where he held his own as a rookie. And then rookie year to second year, where he made a big leap. He was the Bears' best offensive lineman a year ago. He keeps going that trajectory. He's on this list next year. And he's only 23 right now. So he could have 2 appearances on this list next season and the year after. Was pretty young for a senior coming out of Tennessee. So Darnell Wright's my pick. I think Charles Cross could be there as well. He'll be 25 next season or after next season. So that's my pick for a guy who could surprise.
I really love the Darnell Wright pick, and I am a homer, but as somebody who spent a lot of time on the right side of that offensive line, I remember when I was at my most comfortable is when there was continuity positionally. You know, you're playing next to the same guy week in, week out. Hopefully,
you didn't want Nate Davis next to Quentin halfway through the game.
Hopefully, with Jonah in town and some continuity there at the right guard position, Darnell can really settle in, and you'll start to see a guy not only be able to tread water and stay above water, but he could be dominating here in short order.
Well, I hope not, but we'll see. So that's today's show. You're 25 under 25. We'll be back next week. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, keep pushing.